welcome screen. All right, well, it is noon, so because I respect everybody's time, we're going to get underway on time as always. I just wanted to start today's webinar by welcoming all of you here. If you hear any kind of noises in the background, it's because today I'm actually conducting this webinar from beside my pool, and outside there are various lawn services and cars passing by and whatnot. So this is not a perfect environment for a marketing webinar, but today is not a marketing webinar. Today is a webcast marketer community webinar. And there is definitely a difference in that focus, which we'll talk a little bit more about. The webcast marketer community, as well as the purpose of Webinar ROI and our mission here as well. But I want to start by talking a little bit about the purpose of today's webinar. Today, the title of my presentation, it's a great analogy with this image here. The title is Maximizing Your Reach, the Secrets of Audience Attraction. And look, plants have evolved over probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, to create flowers. And those flowers, with their bright colors and their soft, squishy areas for the bee to put his little feet into, and the nectar that they like to drink, and the aromas that attract the bees, all of these things have evolved for a very specific purpose, and that's for plant species to propagate, grow, spread themselves across the world. And actually, flowering plants are the most abundant and successful type of plants worldwide. So obviously this type of technique of attracting your audience has worked well in nature, and it will work very well as well for companies. So whether you're a plant or you're a business person, a lot of the characteristics that plants use to attract their audience, you'll find, are actually used for attracting audiences to webinars. So today we're going to cover the concepts of audience attraction, and this is what we're going to go over today. We're going to cover how to know thy audience, and I use, well, it's quite catchy, but if you know your audience and you answer the key questions that we're going to cover in this webinar, it's going to be very easy for you to create the messaging that's going to attract your audience. And that's really key for you, is to ask the right questions of yourself, of your team, of your client. And when you know the audience and you ask these key questions, filling the seats is going to be very easy. We're also going to cover how to make your content more compelling. And this, we're going to detail on that today. But as you'll see later on, this has to do with some of the key questions as well. And finally, we'll wrap up today's event talking about the psychological triggers that we're going to use in audience attraction. And as I had promised in my emails to you, for everybody that's here and watching, whether you're watching on our website, webinarroi.com, or you're watching this on YouTube, there's a free gift available to you, which is our new ebook, The 15 Essential Points Every Successful Marketing Webinar Script Must Cover. Now, this is going to go over everything that you need to cover for conversion webinars. So when you are looking to drive revenue and generate higher conversion rates, the checklist of these 15 essential points and what we describe, we not only give you the checklist, but we also describe what these 15 points mean and give you some in-depth detail. That's going to really help you to create conversion webinars. And it includes the Webcast Marketer Community Scripting Checklist as well, which we believe will be of a lot of value to everybody that's on this webinar with us today. So what happens when we attract the bees to our flower? And the bees, of course, are our audience. To continue this analogy, well, and we attract our audience, they're going to walk away with not only good information and a positive impression of you, they're also going to walk away with knowledge. You're giving them information that is of value. And if it's a conversion webinar and you do your process correctly, they're also going to come away with your product. Now, how many of them will come away with your product? Well, that has to do with how you script your webinar, which is why we have put together this brand new 15 Essential Points report. And I like to look at it kind of like a game of shooting pool. Now, obviously, the rules of pool are such that you're not going to shoot 1 through 15 in most games of pool. But if you shoot every ball in one at a time, you will win the game. And that's the concept behind the 15 essential points that every successful webinar marketing script must cover. That new ebook that we're going to give to you. Sync them all, and you win. So let's begin our presentation, because obviously we're not giving out the ebook right now. What we're doing is we're talking about how to maximize your reach, how to attract your audience, and if the plant does his job, that bee's going to come away covered in pollen, and your audience is going to come away with great information and hopefully with your product as well. So before we get started, there's a quick housekeeping item. I go through this every time. I'm not going to take very much time with this. This is a legal notice. This presentation is the property of Second Stage Media, LLC. If you want to share this information, just give us an email. Let us know how you want to share it, and we'll be happy to respond. Our email is info@webinaroi.com. Also, keep in mind that this is information that we've learned creating literally over 1,500 webinars and being in online marketing for several years. This information that we're sharing is not specifically tailored to your business. If you want webcast marketing strategies that are specifically tailored to your business, reach out to us. You should not rely on what you're hearing here to guide everything, because frankly, it's marketing. Everything needs to be tailored to you. All right, well, with those housekeeping items out of the way, many of you don't know me, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about my background so that you'll understand what I know about reach. As I mentioned a moment ago, for the past 6 years I've been creating and marketing information products, primarily in the investment publishing space. However, I've gone into success coaching, personal development, self-help areas as well with various clients. And before that, I have 11 years in public relations, 7 of those in television PR. Now, television PR is an old technique that is no longer really used because the FCC stopped it from happening in 2005. But in the heyday, I generated over 4 billion. That's not million, that's 4 billion earned editorial impressions. And the way that you're able to accomplish that is by getting through the gatekeeper, which in those days the gatekeeper was a cynical journalist or a producer of a TV news program. And the only way that you were able to get to their audience was by answering many of the same questions that we're going to be covering in today's presentation. So a lot of the same content development concepts that were used in my years in PR are very relevant to what it is that we do as webcast marketers. So I wanted to have a little bit of my background in front of you so that you understand that where I come from when I'm speaking of this. So let's get to our presentation. As I promised, we're going to first touch on know thy audience. And I think that this is the first key to audience attraction. If you know your audience on the basis of both demographics and psychographics. Now, if you're not an experienced marketer, I'll give you a quick understanding of what these terms mean. A demographic is simple data. It's the age, the location, the marital status, the ethnicity of your audience. So, for example, your demographic might be males 55 and over. And if you're selling, say, a male enhancement supplement, that would probably be your demographic. Let's say, for example, your demographic is Hispanic women, 18 to 35, who are single. So these are just examples of different categories of demographics that we would want to consider when we're thinking about audience attraction, when we're creating our webcast marketing concepts. So your demo may be a very specific niche group, and when it comes to online marketing, those tend to work the best. All of this is helpful in narrowing down your message. Now, if you don't know who your demographic is, you really need to consider this question, because trying to be everything to all people on the internet is a sure way to not get anywhere. If you've got hundreds of millions of dollars behind you, sure, you can build a brand that way, but internet marketing is about niche marketing, and if you can identify your niche that you appeal to Like, what are we after? We're after people that are interested in webcast marketing. So our niche is internet marketers, information publishers, content marketers. That's who we're going after. Now, demographically, that could span a wide range, but they tend to be adults. They tend to be professional and educated. So we know our demographics. And as you'll see, our message is tailored to people that fit our demographics. Now, the other side here, very long word, psychographics. Now, if you're not an experienced marketer, psychographics may seem like kind of a weird term, but it's pretty simple, straightforward concept. Psychographics have to do with lifestyles, behaviors, and attitudes of your target market. So if you've already built your list around a very specific lifestyle niche, this is something that you'll already know. But if you don't know much about your list, then you definitely need to ask the question, who are they, and think in terms of psychographics as well as demographics and how they relate to your product or services. Okay, the next thing that we're going to want to ask are, what are their problems? Now, everybody has different problems. If you're watching this and you're an online marketer, the kind of problems that you may face may include low conversion rates on a sales page, or having trouble doing lead generation. Maybe you're paying too much for every opt-in. So whatever the problems of your target audience are, knowing those problems and listing them are going to help you in developing your audience attraction communications, because we want to touch on people's problems and we want to offer them the solutions so that they can achieve their goals. The next question that you see on the screen here has to do with their misconceptions. This is a very powerful question, and every time that you create any kind of marketing strategy, knowing your audience's misconceptions can clue you in on different angles that you could use to not only attract their attention but help you to convert them and take action. So in the case of our audience here today, a common misconception might be something as simple as, well, webinars are too technically complicated, and some of them are technically complicated. Or perhaps webinars are not as advantageous as HTML because I can change my HTML quicker. Well, you could change your webinars quickly too if you know how to do that. And with simple editing software in a few minutes, you can even create webinars that you can split test and run on an automated basis. But we are getting way ahead of ourselves in the process. Let's just stick with knowing your audience for now. So moving on here, if you are watching this video on YouTube, it's going to end in just a second. To watch the rest of it, you're going to need to go to webinarroi.com and download our free ebook to join the Webcast Marketer community, and then you'll get access to the rest of the video. For those of you who are here live with me or are already members and watching this online, we're going to move on to the rest of the Know Thy Audience questions right now. So the other